Hey, Kevin here, top one to financial advisor, two-time author, one-time bestseller, and we are here to talk about the stock market. Now, today I wanted to come in here and talk about Microsoft because I made a big acquisition and I am a happy Microsoft investor. I've been investing in them for the long term, blah, blah, blah. That's what I wanted to do. But as I always do, I check the news, see what's going on, and see if there's anything that we need to be aware of. And we got something big, or what should be big, tomorrow morning. So tomorrow morning at 8:30, which is Tuesday, we are going to get the CPI number, that is Consumer Price Index. That tells us how expensive things are getting. Inflation, remember, is the rising cost of goods. The Federal Reserve tries to keep this at 2% or below. It is expected to be at 1.7%, which, that's creeping up to that 2% level. And that starts to scare companies. It starts to scare investors. And here's why. So number one, if you are a company and you are selling goods and services, basically stuff, right? And it starts to get more expensive for you, then your profits actually shrink. Think of somewhere like a banana. Think of bananas at Costco or Walmart or even a Dollar General. I don't know if you really buy fresh stuff from Dollar General, but um, if let's say it's a Walmart or something, it costs you $1, you're selling at $2, but then the next day the bananas are $1.10, $1.50, and now your dollar profit is slowly shrinking. If you are less profitable, you are making less money. If you are making less money, investors like myself and others are going to say, hey, look, you're not making what you were making. I'm going to sell and take my money somewhere else. And that's concern number one for businesses, because it ain't never good when the cost of the things that you're selling start to rise and you have to change or adjust prices, because as consumers, we see the price go up, we're also not buying, right? In some cases. And if we're not buying, again, the companies lose. So they're in a real bind if inflation gets out of hand. But for investors on a broader perspective, the way that we control inflation is by the Federal Reserve, one of the ways, the main way. And the way that they do that is by controlling interest rates. When inflation goes up, interest rates have to go up, because what they're basically saying is the economy is too hot. All y'all going outside way too fast, which is a good thing because we want to be outside, right? But y'all getting vaccinated, everybody's jumping outside. Inflation is going to shoot up, prices are going to shoot up. So the Federal Reserve has to say, wait, look, I need to pump the brakes. I'm going to raise interest rates. That really scares investors, because if you raise interest rates, usually the stock market falls. Why do interest rates raise, and how does that affect people, and what goes on there? Remember, interest rates really run a lot of the economy. I'm not gonna say the entire world, but they run a lot of stuff. And here's why. If I'm a business and I'm borrowing money, do I want to borrow money at a high interest rate or a low interest rate? You want to borrow at a low interest rate. So when interest rates were lower in 2020, they cut it down to almost zero. I was incentivized as a business owner or Walmart or whoever to borrow money to hire people, launch new products, stay alive because it was COVID. It was like, look, interest rates like student loans or credit cards, they're 1%, they're a 0.5%. Of course, I'm gonna borrow the money. I can easily pay that back versus paying like 2% interest rate or even higher. It's why we saw home prices, or not home prices, but it's why we saw so many people buying homes, because interest rates were so low. But if we check tomorrow morning at 8:30 a.m., interest rates are higher than what we expect, the market could react and they could be fearful that the Federal Reserve, they're going to raise interest rates, and that's the fear. Now, in reality, they're probably not going to do that for quite some time. Why? The Federal Reserve has already come out and said, really probably not going to change interest rates unless something extreme happens, unless inflation is like 3% or above. That's when we'll start to act. Right now we're at 1.7. It's expected that we're going to rise 0.2% every month for the next few months until everybody's like really out there, because you only have one boom of people just jumping out there, right? Once you get out there, you get that first flight under your belt, you got to eat at your favorite restaurant, you're good. You just go back to normal. You're not gonna like just do all the things all the time. Like, you're not gonna go to Disney World every day for 6 months. You might go once, right? But not every day for 6 months. So that's the thing. Logically, most economists and even the Federal Reserve says, look, it is expected as people go out, spend more money, do more things, travel more, that it's expected to go up a little bit over the summer and then probably taper back down and go back to normal after that. The market doesn't always read the news. The market's not the most logical thing. on the planet. So it could react very differently tomorrow. It could be very good. It could be very bad. It could do absolutely nothing. But I'm letting you know that now. The reason why I don't know what it's going to do is, number one, I don't have a crystal ball. Number two, I don't know what the number is going to be. I have no idea. Some say it's going to be around 1.7%. We'll see. Those are all guesses until the Federal Reserve actually comes out and says, this is what this means. Here's what we see inflation. Here's what we're going to do next. In most cases, they're probably not going to do anything, except the market doesn't really care sometimes. We know this because six or 7 weeks ago, this exact thing happened. We were afraid of what inflation was going to do. The market acted real stupid at that time. And we saw Tesla drop 25%, and all this crazy stuff happened. And so I told y'all back then that I was still going to invest in some of those legacy names like Microsoft and others. So we'll see. Other things you want to be aware of, we'll see how this affects banks. I'm in a trade for Goldman Sachs. I'm out of the trade for Intel, made some money there, but Intel dropped. I have no idea why it dropped today, but it was down pretty big. It went down under $65 because I raised my stop loss from, I was like $60, got in at 63, I had a stop loss at 60. It started to go up towards 68. So I moved my stop loss up and said, look, if something happens, at least I get out of this with some money. So I did, but for some reason it dropped from 68 to around 65. I got out with my money. Intel can do whatever it do. So at least I got out with $2 per share for the shares I had, which was like, it was a small trade, like it was less than 20 shares, like 15 or 17 or something like that. So we'll see what happens with Goldman Sachs. I'm real interested to see how this interest rate conversation is going to affect them, because it affects banks. Banks are the ones that need those loans to survive. That's how they make the most money. You know, if the interest rates go up, they get less loans, and you know, it's a trade-off there. So we'll definitely see what's going to happen in that space. But I did want to let you know, because tomorrow could be a big day depending on how the market reacts to that. But I wanted to get out in front of it, let you guys know now. I will probably put this video in an email. So if you're watching this the day of, this is probably like a meta moment. So you can tell the future or the past, however that works. And then lastly, tomorrow we will talk about, hopefully we'll talk about Coinbase unless something crazy happens. Coinbase is supposed to go public on the 14th, April 14th. I'm looking at the date now, 2 days from now. That is the cryptocurrency platform, and it's one of the most popular. So I've had my eye on it for a while. We'll definitely talk about it because it could be something. Good or bad, it's an IPO. You never know. All right, so that's it for me. Make sure that you hit the share button. Excuse me. Make sure you hit the share button. Thank y'all for coming out to the 2021 Investing Summit, to my session at least. There are more. I saw a few of y'all that comment on the videos on YouTube, on Facebook, and Instagram. So I appreciate y'all. Make sure you hit the share button, and I will talk to y'all tomorrow.